You ever finish a game and think, that was a statement? And not because of one ankle-breaking jukes or a 70-yard bomb, but because of the way everything clicked at once? Sunday night in Orchard Park felt like that. Josh Allen walked off the field with a grin and a stat line that read like a short manifesto: efficient, physical, and impossible to ignore. The Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs 28-21. Allen accounted for 3 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 2 on the ground, and when the final whistle blew, Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo ambled over and delivered one of the great cheeky post-game zingers. "I don't want you to play anymore. I want you to retire. Nice job." Reuters, let's not bury the lead. Allen was exceptional. He completed 23 of 26 passes for 273 yards, added 19 rushing yards and 2 one-yard TD runs, and hit Dalton Kincaid on a 23-yard strike to open the scoring. That stat line, precision, toughness, and the kind of leadership that forces opponents to respect every inch, set the tone. James Cook also did his part on the ground, giving Buffalo balance and keeping Mahomes off the field when it mattered. It was a complete team night that ended with Buffalo's defense bending but refusing to break. ESPN.com, now the human detail that'll live on in highlight reels, Spagnuolo's post-game handshake. It was playful, but the subtext was sharp. Admiration from an old-school defensive mind who's repeatedly had to scheme around Allen's combination of arm and legs. For a coach who sees everything through the lens of how hard a QB is to stop, telling Allen to retire was praise delivered with a smirk. It was a moment that said as much about Allen's season as any stat line. Opponents might be tired of facing him, and that tiredness translates into respect. SI. This was also a defensive night for Buffalo. The Bills collected 3 sacks, forced key stops late, and held Kansas City to 21 points in a game where Mahomes was kept under his usual pace. The Chiefs threatened late, and Mahomes found ways to move the chains, but Buffalo's tackling and timely pressure closed passing windows when it mattered most. A late Mahomes heave was batted down, sealing the win, a play that felt like the whole night in a single frame. Desperation, compression, and the Bills refusing to surrender. Reuters' context matters here. The Bills have had postseason heartbreak against the Chiefs recently, high-profile playoff losses that sting, so beating them in the regular season has its own weight. This Sunday wasn't a revenge movie. It was a reminder Buffalo can play with and beat the team everyone measures themselves against. If you're Sean McDermott and you want your team to see itself as a title contender, a night like this is exactly the kind of data point you show in the locker room tomorrow. We can win these games, and we can win them together. Buffalo rumblings. But let's be honest. This was not a perfect Kansas City performance either. Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown, which is rare for a player who's practically built on producing highlight moments every week. Kansas City still threatened. They always do. But Buffalo's defensive game planning turned a potentially frantic finish into a disciplined stop. If the Chiefs were slightly off rhythm, give the Bills credit for forcing that imbalance. Football is often decided by who can make the other team uncomfortable at key moments. Buffalo did that when it had to. Reuters. There are also ripple effects. Allen's efficiency, reportedly a team record completion percentage for the game, and the defensive stands send a message to the AFC. Buffalo is not just a regular season opponent to survive. It's a team that will make you fight for every meaningful win. That matters when you look at playoff seeding and the kind of momentum teams try to build heading into December. If there's a moral from this night, it's that the Bills can win in multiple ways. With the run, with the ball control offense, and with a defense that makes big plays when their back's against the wall. Sportsnet.ca. Now the softer side. These are the moments players remember. A veteran coach like Spagnuolo stepping up to say something cheeky and kind to Allen is a currency of respect. It's the kind of clip that lands on highlight reels and social feeds and enters the ledger of personal rivalries. For Allen, it's validation. For Chiefs fans, it's a punch in the gut. For neutral viewers, it's a perfect late-season vignette. 2 elite franchises, an old rivalry, and a line that reads both like trash talk and genuine appreciation. Yahoo Tetao. And the practical takeaway for Buffalo's immediate future, build on it. Don't treat this as the season's summit. Treat it as a waypoint. Keep the offensive balance that paid off. Run to set up play action. Let Allen make the high percentage reads that open up the occasional risk, and keep forcing defenses to account for both Kincaid and Cook. On defense, keep scheming to create clean rush opportunities and force Mahomes into uncomfortable windows. If Buffalo does that, this win becomes the first domino in a stretch that can really tilt the AFC picture. Reuters. Now, a cautionary line. The playoffs are a different animal. Buffalo's regular season dominance over Kansas City doesn't automatically translate to postseason success. Those playoff wounds are fresh in fans' memories. But winning a battle in the regular season, especially in a style that blends poise with physicality, is how you start stitching together belief. Beating the Chiefs is never the end of a story. It's the chapter that motivates the next draft pick, the next defensive tweak, and the next practice plan. Buffalo rumblings. Close your eyes for the final image. The clock hits 0. Buffalo players collapse onto the turf, smiling. Coaches embrace, and Josh Allen stands there with the grin of a man who just earned a coach's joke as City's cheers. Spagnuolo's line will be clipped into highlight packages, a small theatrical punctuation mark, but the real headline is the work behind that smile. Precision throws, power runs, and a defense that refused to let a Hall of Fame quarterback steal the night. For Buffalo, it was a win that felt like momentum. For Allen, a night that earned a heckler's compliment and turned it into legend. Reuters. If you remember one thing from this game, let it be this. The best compliments are the ones opponents make with a smile. On Sunday, Josh Allen got one, and in this league, that kind of respect is worth more than a headline. He hugged him, smiled, and then, deadpan, told him to retire. Those 3 words landed like a mic drop on a rivalry that still smells like playoff battles and late-game heartache. I don't want you to play anymore. I want you to retire. Nice job. That tiny theatrical moment after the whistle was the neatest little summary of the night. Josh Allen walked off Highmark Stadium having done what he always does when the lights are brightest: make plays that force the whole conversation to bend around him. He finished a near-perfect game, 23 of 26 for 273 yards, a touchdown pass, and 2 more scores on the ground, and the scoreboard read Bills 28, Chiefs 21. ESPN.com. But the story isn't only about the numbers. It's about the collision of history and heat. For the Bills, this was another regular season victory over a franchise that has been the measuring stick of the last decade. Buffalo has now beaten Kansas City 5 straight times in regular season meetings, a small, stubborn streak that matters when narratives start stacking up. For the Chiefs, the loss felt less like a single night and more like a dent in an otherwise familiar armor. NFL.com. Let's rewind to the plays that made the headline. Dalton Kincaid's opening drive touchdown, a route that sliced through coverage and set the tone, felt like a quiet promise. Buffalo was going to make Kansas City defend every inch. Allen's 47-yard strike to put the Bills in position, his late quarterback sneak, and the 2 goal line rushes, those moments were clinical, measured, and decisive. When your quarterback can both throw with surgical accuracy and finish with his legs, the math favors you. On Sunday, it favored Buffalo. CBS Sports. On the other sideline, Patrick Mahomes had one of the nights you don't often see from him. The Chiefs' offense, usually humming under his batons of improvisation and genius, stuttered. Mahomes finished with one of the lowest completion percentages of his career, was sacked multiple times, and when the clock started to bite, his final attempts at the end zone were repeatedly swatted away. 3 incompletions that ended the game, the last of which was batted down by Buffalo defenders to seal the win. That sequence felt like the inverse of the Spagnuolo